Hello, my name is Les Brown. You're just listening to a presentation I did several years ago called It's Possible. And during that particular time, I was in pursuit of a dream. This is a special broadcast we're doing today from now until around, I guess, around 4:30. And it's designed to encourage you to live your dreams now. I have two special guests, Attorney Sean Arnold and also Hassan Thompson. And we invite you to call if there's anything that you'd like to share with us as we talk. I like the dish model as we talk and share some ideas and concepts with you about what it takes to make it in life. We'd like for you to share with us, what did you discover as we were talking about a particular topic? What we said that might have inspired you, or what surprised you, and the other thing is, what touched your heart? As you begin to look at where we are right now, this is a very challenging time. When I gave that speech, I was living in my office on the 21st floor in Detroit, Michigan, in the Penobscot building on Griswold downtown. And I was pursuing my dream. My cousin Boo, who was alive then, and Larry DeAngie, who just left Los Angeles this morning. And we were pursuing our dream, but we fell on tough times, you know. And the good times, you put it in your pocket. And the tough times, you put it in your heart. And there we were pursuing a dream. I was going out giving speeches, telling people they had the power to live their dreams. And at the same time, I was sleeping on the floor of my office, hiding in the closet when the janitorial staff came and running down the hall in my in my underwear and bathing in the sink. You know, let me tell you something. Those some tough times. You know, I never forget. I came home one summer and I had lost so much weight, and so Mama said, "Leslie, what's wrong? Are you all right?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. I'm fasting." My brother said, "He's not fasting. He's starving." I was pursuing my dream. I was the biggest joke in the family. They all told me I should give up this idea and dream of becoming a motivational speaker. Mama said, "Leslie, you had a good job at Sears. You had benefits." I said, "Mama, I can't go there anymore. I just can't do that anymore. I've got to be my own person." I want you to think about your goals and think about your dreams. We'll be talking with Attorney Sean Arnold. And one of the things that she does, she's a business strategist, and she shares with you ideas of how you can take your dream, your idea, your business, and develop a strategy that will allow you to go out into the marketplace to do market takeaways, and how you can grow your market, how you can increase your brand, how you can begin to grow your business. And then we're going to talk also with Hassan Thompson. Hassan Thompson is a young man who has a passion for helping young males, and I'm excited about talking with him because I have a passion for that as well. Being a young man that was raised by a single mother, Mama adopted 7 of us, and I was one of 7 children that she adopted. I always say all that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother. And one of the passions that I have is working with young men who have problems, because I was a problem kid. I was labeled educable, mentally retarded, and put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade. I failed again when I was in the 8th grade. I have no college training. But I met a high school teacher, and I'll tell you more about him, Mr. Leroy Washington, who taught me the value of developing your mind and the value of developing your communication skills. He said, once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And so I want you to think about your goals. I want you to think about some dream, some major dream that you have. And we're going to share with you some strategies that you can implement that will allow you to reach at least 87% of your goals. In addition to that, while we're here, we want to engage you to call. You might have some questions on your mind and say, well, Les, I'm dealing with a particular challenge, and what do you advise me to do? The number to call is 323-965-1600. That's 323-965-1600. We invite you to call and ask questions. So I want you to think about your goal and your dream and what it is you want to achieve with your life. And here's something I can tell you right now. I want you to affirm to yourself that it's possible. See, if anybody at any point in time had a goal and had a dream that they wanted to achieve, and they did that, then it's possible that you can achieve your goal. It's possible that you can make your dream become real. See, the easiest thing that I did this morning, getting up, preparing to come into the radio station, that's the easy part. Or when I leave here and I go to Orlando next week to do a training with people from around the world, teaching them how to develop a keynote presentation that will give them the versatility and the flexibility to build a financial empire, and teach them how I've earned over $65 million doing what I love to do. That's the easy part. But let me tell you what the hard part is. See, the hard part, and it took me years to do, was to believe that I could do it. To believe that I, Les Brown, born in an abandoned building on a floor in a poor section of Miami, Florida called Liberty City. To believe I, Les Brown, adopted. If both my birth parents came in here right now, I would not know either one. To believe that I, Les Brown, labeled educable, mentally retarded, and failing twice in school and no corporate experience, that I have the ability to speak for AT&T, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, General Electric, IBM. I did not believe that I have the ability to do that. And I want you to know right now, there's some things that you can do, and just because you can't see it does not mean that you can't accomplish it. Eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has entered the heart of mankind what God has in store for you. So it's very important as you begin to look at your dream and look at yourself that you say to yourself, it's possible. Why do we have to do that every day, Les? Because of the fact that we live in a world where we're told more about our limitations rather than our potential. That's why I believe that my favorite book says faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. So you have to say it's possible. Sometimes you can't say, I can do that, but we can say that it's possible and not hype ourselves up, that it's possible and be in integrity with ourselves. And the other thing is, become clear about what you want. What is it and what does that look like? And don't get some little goal. Get a big goal. Have a big dream. Why is that important? Because most people fail in life not because they aim too high and miss. Most people fail in life because they did exactly what I did for the first part of my life. I aimed too low and hit. And most people never aim at all. So I want you to get a big dream. Because when you have a big dream, that will challenge you. See, your power is beyond your comfort zone. I don't know you. I can't see you. I don't know anything about you. But here's what I know about myself, and that connects with you. And that is that you have something special. You have greatness within you. You have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. Your power is beyond your comfort zone. Because in order to do something you've never done, you've got to become someone you've never been. And you've got to say to yourself every day that it's possible. Life is going to put some knots on your head. And you've got to say, it's possible. Life is going to knock you down. I got a saying, if life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. And you've got to say to yourself again and again and again and again, it's possible. See, 85% of people allow their fear of failure to outweigh their desire to succeed. And they start suffering from possibility blindness. And so here's something I want you to know. You're going to fail your way to success. Absolutely. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. Things are going to happen that you can't even begin to anticipate. Your life is going to catch you on the blind side. Why? That's just the way it is. It's not personal. Don't go around telling everybody. 80% don't care, and 20% glad it's you. It's called life. That's why my favorite book says, think it not strange that you face the fiery furnaces of this world. You will, not you might, you will have tribulations. And so it's necessary for you to know that you're going to fail your way to success. You got to make failure your friend. I remember I used to be a state legislator in Columbus, Ohio, from the 29th House District. And I remember being on the floor of the House of Representatives, and Vern Rife was the Speaker of the House, and a gentleman from Toledo raised his hand to introduce some legislation that I was opposed to. His name was Art Wilkowski, an attorney from Toledo, very brilliant and very intimidating and very strong vocal and oratorical skills. And when he raised his hand to introduce this legislation, I couldn't wait until he finished, because he had embarrassed me around a piece of legislation that I'd introduced and killed the legislation on the floor. And I raised my hand. I said, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to challenge the gentleman from Toledo. And so we started debating back and forth, and I was about to get the edge, I thought. And then Wilkowski started shooting questions at me, and all of a sudden my mind just freezed up. You know, I had a yes, I can attitude, but a no, I can't aptitude. I got so confused, and everybody started looking at me like, we told you not to mess with that man. I went limping back to my office, and everybody came back to the office and said, Brown, why did you take on Will Koski? Nobody debates him. I said, I don't care. I lost today because of what I didn't know. When I win because of what I know. It only means I've got to go back to the drawing board, and I've got to prepare myself better next time. And then there came another opportunity that I had a chance to debate him. And once again, he just mopped the floor up with me. That was all right. I went to the committee meetings and I started watching him. And then I got his positions and I studied his position and as well as mine. I knew both of them. Then I raised my hand again. And this time we went back and forth. And then he asked for something that I never thought I'd see Art Wilkowski to do because he had great pride and great ego. Mr. Speaker, can I talk to the gentleman for 10 minutes on the side? And I said, no, Mr. Speaker, let's solve this now. And C.J. McLean, he pulled my coat. He said, Les, if a man want to talk to you, try and work something out. If a man trying to negotiate with you, don't get in a fight if you don't have to, because he might get in a lucky punch. I say, okay, C.J., I was young, but I was coachable. He had wisdom. I was angry, and I learned a long time ago, anger is a wind that blows out the lamp of the mind. And so Al Wilkowski and I talked, and he said, if you just let me go with this piece of legislation, he said, I'll support you on something for your district. And we worked things out, and we became allies, and became friends. And one of the things that I learned from that experience, make it okay to fail. Anything that's worth doing is worth doing badly. It's worth doing right if you know how to do it. But if you don't know how to do it, it's worth doing badly until you get it right. See, one of the things about life, you got to be willing to experiment. You got to be willing to try out different things. And especially in today's marketplace, the 40-40 plan is gone. Because, see, things used to be different years ago. In a domestic economy, you could expect to go to college and graduate and get a job and work 40 hours a week for 40 years. The 40-40 plan is gone. There's no such thing as job security. 73% of college graduates, 53% of the MBAs and PhDs, when they graduate, they move back home because there are no jobs out there. And even if you get a job in today's marketplace, you have to do 2 and 3 jobs for one paycheck, and in many cases, no health insurance and no job security. In fact, there are many states where they can fire you for no reason or for any reason. And so in that kind of environment, it's very important for you to believe in yourself. It's very important for you to develop an exit plan, using your talents, using your abilities, using your knowledge, using your skills, using your gifts in order to carve out a place for yourself. And every day you have to sell yourself on, it's possible that I can make it. It's possible, especially during the tough times, no matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. That's what I was saying to myself when I was hiding in the closet from the janitorial staff in the Penobscot building, the Penobscot building in Detroit, Michigan, on the 21st floor. I had to convince myself while I was going out motivating people they could have their dream. I had to convince myself that I was going to make it, and it wasn't easy. Now, here's something else. You have to look at yourself and look at your relationships and ask the question, what is this relationship doing to me? See, you earn between $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. Think about that. And when I found that out, I got rid of a whole lot of people in my life. My mama told me, Leslie, yes, ma'am, mama, if you run around with 9 broke people, I guarantee you'll become number 10. And one of the things that Dennis Kimbrough said out of Atlanta, he said, if you're the smartest one in your group, you need to get a new group. And I thought about that. And so as you look at yourself, look at your goals, look at your dreams, I want you to write this down. OQP, only quality people. You want to make it today? You want to have only quality people in your life. There are 3 steps that's very important to making it today. One thing is you've got to transform your mindset. The next thing is you've got to expand your skill set. There's no shortage of opportunity. There's a shortage of capacity to take advantage of the opportunities that are available. And the third thing is you must create collaborative, achievement-driven relationships. That's important today. You don't want to be around any flaky people. You want people who bring something to the table, and you have to bring something to the table as well. You have something special. You have greatness within you. But if you are 10 and you are hanging around with 4s and 5s, you are no longer a 10. They will bring you down to where they are. And so as you look at yourself, look at your relationships, it's very important, if this year is going to be greater than last year, that you upgrade your relationships. You surround yourself with people that you can learn from, mentally and financially and spiritually, people that can help you grow, people that can introduce you to a part of yourself that you don't know right now. And this is the age of what Ralph Waldo Emerson called the age of self-reliance. This is a time, ladies and gentlemen, this is the entrepreneur's era. This is the time that you want to have a coach. Why, Les? Because you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. I want to introduce you to a young lady that she is a life coach. She's a business strategist, and she has a boot camp that she teaches business entrepreneurs and individuals who are ready to start their home-operated business or people who are already in business. She's teaching people strategies on how to make it in this new era, the late Peter Drucker called the era of the 3 C's: accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition. Her name is Attorney Sean Arnold. Hello, Sean. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing better than good as soon as your microphone is up. All right. Yeah.
How are you, Sensei? Hello today.
I'm doing better than good, better than most, and sometimes even better than that.
All right. Now that's what I'm talking about.
Listen, when you look at entrepreneurship, what is it that caused most people to fail today in business?
I think, the things that I find most people allow themselves to get stuck. And, we have this POV that we've got to be perfect. Mm-hmm. Coming out of the blocks, we've got to have all of our ducks in a row, and we have to be better than the next person. And when we get stuck, we wallow in it. We refuse to tell people.
Define what you mean by being stuck.
Well, what I mean by being stuck is, for example, I'll give you a real life personal example. I hate to cold call. Mm-hmm. When I look at that telephone and I am supposed to pick it up and call a stranger, I get this anxiety inside.
Yeah.
And so that could very easily tank my business overnight.
Okay, now what is it that you think about when you get stuck? What is it that causes that fear and that nervousness to come up for you?
I immediately go back to being 14 years old in New York City. I was a foster kid. And I needed to find a job. Mm-hmm. And I started at South Ferry and literally walked every single street in Manhattan, all the way up into the projects. I went to every store. I stopped everywhere. Could not find a job. Mm-hmm. I was devastated.
It was a movie called Magnolia, and you hear me quote this often.
Yes.
And there's a line in there that says, we might be through with our past, but our past is not through with us.
That's correct.
Okay, now, but here's what I want you to do. That happened in the past.
Yes.
And you have allowed that to compromise your present.
Yes.
And it's cost you money.
Yes, it has.
Now, I want to ask you this. Who is it you have to be in order to leave that little girl in the past, to let go or be dragged? Who is it in your mind as you know that even as you work with entrepreneurs, you have to reinvent yourself?
Absolutely.
And so as you look at yourself right now, who is it you have to be as a person so that you can say, that was in the past, and this is what I must do to grow my business? I've got to have the courage. I've got to be unstoppable. I've got to have the perseverance to face the rejections and not internalize it, and understand that every no that I face, it brings me a step closer to a yes.
Yes. And I understand all of that on a logical level. I understand that it's just like a waitress in a restaurant who's walking around with a pot of coffee.
Yeah.
Would you like some coffee? Would you like some coffee? Would you like some coffee? Well, if two of those people say no, the waitress is not being rejected, the coffee is being rejected. I understand that on an intellectual level.
Yes.
I understand the logic of it.
Yes.
I don't get that emotionally. So what did I have to do? And in being stuck like this, I had to go find a coach.
Yes.
And so I have just hired someone this week that is going to be working with me over the next 3 months.
You think maybe you might need to
one-on-one.
be hypnotized?
I've tried that, and it works in the immediate. But the further I get away from that hypnotism,
Yes.
I go right back to one.
So you snap out of it.
I snap back into it.
So what would you do if I'm your client?
Yes.
And I need to get on the phone to do
I
cold
would
calls.
slap you around, but I can't slap me around.
Because I have a callus on my ear.
Absolutely.
From making phone calls.
Yes.
Because I had to call corporations to sell myself.
Yes.
And they would ask me, have you ever done this training for anybody? I said, no, but I am so excited about providing it for you that you're going to just spread the word of how good I am.
Excellent.
And so I faced a lot of rejections.
Yes.
In order to get to that yes.
Yes.
And that yes made all the difference. But the more I did it, the more confident I became.
You know, I was a stockbroker back in the day, and I cold called for 2 solid years. And I actually left that job and let my Series 7 lapse because I hated cold calling that much.
Wow.
That much. And so I've gotten to the point in my life now where I am tired of beating myself up over not wanting to do what I don't want to do, over not having the skill to do what I simply don't have the skill to do. So I've hired someone to help me. And I think that is the point the overriding point that I'm trying to make here, is that when we all get stuck, we are human. We all have those vulnerabilities. But where we win is where we ask for help.
And I think about the fact that maybe you should just stay in your lane and hire somebody
Absolutely.
who will make the money on the back end.
Yes.
Selling your products,
Yes.
selling your services, selling your seminars, and you just do what it is that you do best.
That's correct. So if you're out there, hit me
yes.
up on Facebook.
What is your
Sean
Facebook?
Arnold.
Yes.
SHAUNE.Arnold.
Okay, so all right, so we've solved that, because
Yes.
the solution is to find someone to
Yes,
sell you.
that's right.
And that's not unusual. I used to do seminars and workshops with Mark Victor Hansen, who's the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yes.
And he used a guy named John Childers to do the pitch, to do the sales pitch, to close business for him, because he felt uncomfortable doing the sale himself.
Yes. So those of you who are in business and you have aspects of your business that you just don't like to do, delegate. Don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up and let yourself hit that wall again and again and again. Heck, go around it. Turn around and go the other way. Hire somebody.
Okay, now, in our business, in the speaking and training and coaching business,
Yes.
that we have to help people to get a larger vision of themselves beyond their circumstances and mental conditioning.
Yes.
And be risk takers and be versatile and adaptable and flexible and using their talents and abilities in a variety of ways.
Yes.
And tell us about your background as an attorney.
Well, I actually started out I've always been a transaction attorney. I thought when I got out of law school that I wasn't suited to be an attorney because I don't like litigation. I don't even know where the courthouse is, much less what to do when you get there.
Okay.
My secretary calls me and says, "File something." I reach for my nails. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm transaction counsel. I've spent 20 years in the mergers and acquisitions space. I start companies, I buy companies, I sell companies. I help my clients develop their business.
But what I discovered about you, and I love it very much, your genius, to me, is in speaking. Because that to me is your strength, and I believe that everybody listening, that they have some things that they love to do,
yes,
and there are some things that they could be very good at that they don't even know. I resisted becoming a speaker for years, for 14 years, because I didn't believe that I had anything to say. I've always had a tremendous inferiority complex because I don't have a college education, and I used to ask my mentor, Mike Williams, Mike, who would hire me to speak? What would I have to say?
I've never hire you, Wesley.
You hire me? Thank you. I just said, what is it that I have to say that I can hold an audience's attention?
Yes.
And I've never worked for a major corporation. I don't know the culture. I don't know anybody that's ever done that before. And he said, Les, all of us are born the same way, dumb, naked, and speechless. You can learn. And he was right. And so, but it took him 14 years to convince me. And I'll never forget, I was in an audience and I saw Bob Proctor, who was in the movie called The Secret, and it was Zig Ziglar and Wayne Dyer and Dr. Norman Vincent Peale was alive. Mm-hmm. But I saw him, and he was very low-key and boring, and I said, I know I can do that. Okay? And I said this on his stage. I told him. And I decided to become involved. I ran outside, and I called Mike Williams because I heard Bob give a quote that just jarred me. He said, I know I'm not high energy and have a lot of passion. He said, but the reason that I'm standing up here and you're seated out there is because I represent the thoughts I have rejected. No, I represent the thoughts you have rejected for yourself.
Indeed.
And when he said that, I stood up. I said, oh, my God. I had rejected myself for years.
But you had
another complimented me.
You had another incident. Someone who told you had gold in your mouth.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yes, my youngest son's mother. We had an argument I was trying to get her to join a multi-level marketing organization, and she said no. She said, until you do something about your gift. And I said, what is it? She said, you got gold in your mouth. If you don't use that, you'll never make it, and just drove off.
Now, that from someone, the two of you didn't like each other very much in those days.
And I said, my God, even though other people had said that I had a gift, the fact that she didn't like me, I don't like her, and she still noticed my gift, I was startled. It shocked me, and I started thinking, well, maybe I do have something.
Yes.
And during that time, my mother was suffering from breast cancer. I had resigned from the Ohio legislature. I went back to Miami to take care of her, to fulfill a childhood promise that I said, I will always be there for you. And I just got elected to my third term, and I was going to run for the Senate, then Congress, and lieutenant governor. And I gave up my political ambitions for Mama. I used to have a talk show, and I would end it by saying, this has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. So let me ask you, when you look at entrepreneurship today, how important is it that people, number one, give themselves an exit plan if they're working on a job, and number two, to have some kind of business on the side to make some little money? I have a saying that it's better to have money not needed than to need it and not have it. Absolutely.
I think it's absolutely critical, especially in an economy like the one that we're all laboring under right now. It is the entrepreneur that is going to make the difference in this economy. It is the entrepreneur that is going to catapult the entire country into recovery. The corporations can't do it or won't do it. The banks can't do it or won't do it. Congress, I don't care who we elect, cannot create those jobs.
Mm-hmm. And so and people have to stay ahead of technology.
Yes.
And cheap labor abroad.
Yes, absolutely. It's
the last day on your job.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience.
Well, my last job was on the 45th floor of one of the towers in downtown Los Angeles, and I had noticed that in the previous probably 2.5 years, I never looked out the window. I was up on the 45th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking the ocean, all of Los Angeles at my feet, and I never looked out the window.
Why?
Just too busy. Nose down, elbows out. The view was for the clients. It wasn't for me. And I was creating my full-on MBA level business course, which is my business boot camp, and my business plan course. And just as I completed crafting those courses, the managing partner called me in his office, and the banks had crashed some 18 months prior, and I had a very robust desk, but I watched it slowly trickle down to literally nothing. So that when the managing partner called me in his office that day, now bless his heart, he had tears in his eyes.
Okay.
And then nonetheless, he kicked your girl to the curb.
What did he say?
He said that they thanked me very much for all of my hard work and all of my loyalty, and they had to, because of the economy, let me go.
And how long had you been working there?
6 years.
And just sometimes working around the clock?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There were a couple of times when my secretary came in and passed my office and stopped and leaned back and said, "Wait a minute, is that the same suit you were in yesterday?" Yes, yes, it's the same suit.
And that day when he came in and told you that, what did you experience emotionally?
You know, I was devastated. I did not realize how much of my job I internalized. I didn't realize that I was identifying myself so closely with what I did for a living. And so when I left the job, I thought, okay, I'm fine. So I strapped on my Bluetooth and I called Desiree Dubras, who runs An Empowered Woman. She is one of my business mentors. Desiree said, "All right, now you can go out and be that entrepreneur you were meant to be." Yeah, sensitivity training starts for Desiree on Monday. That having been said,
yes.
The second person I called was Les Brown.
Yes.
For the same reason, because I knew you wouldn't let me tank.
Yes.
And your response was, "Oh, thank goodness, I've been trying to figure out a way to get you over to my outfit. Forget those people, you're hired."
Yes.
So I was unemployed for about 2 hours.
Well, see, Mary Dwight said in life, when you don't have enough courage or insight to know that you have outgrown a situation and it's time to move on, life will move on you.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
so you had outgrown that situation.
I had.
And a lot of people who've outgrown situations have been laid off or they've been fired. And I say, no, you haven't been fired or laid off. You've been released so you can live your purpose. Liberated. You know, they say the two most important moments in your life is the day that you're born and the day that you realize why you were born.
Yes.
And so what did that do for you?
Well, it really helped me because going back to where we started at the beginning of this interview, I asked for help. I called Desiree and I called Les Brown. And I wound up, it could have been a really devastating situation. It was not, because I reached out and I asked for help. So I think that is something that we can all really take to heart. That when we get in those situations, when we are facing foreclosure, when we are facing the loss of a job, when our children are out of control, when our spouse is out of control, when our life is out of control, reach out and use those resources that are around us. Don't be afraid and curl into yourself where you don't have the resource.
I believe ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong.
Yes, indeed.
And ask for help and don't stop until you get it.
There you have it.
And a lot of people won't do that because of pride. Pride cometh before a fall, because of ego. Ego means edging God out. But let's go back to what you were sharing with people as a speaker.
Yes.
Because your background and your experience before coming to California, it speaks for itself. And so I want you to share with people a day that was a defining moment in your life. And I believe that we all have those moments, and some come sooner than others. Yours happened at the age of 15. It's been said that there are moments in life that the moment defines you, or you define the moment.
That's right. That's right.
What was a defining moment in your life?
I remember that moment so clearly, Les. I held the telephone, in my hand. And I have absolutely no idea how that telephone found its way into my hand that day, but it did. I had no specific intent to call anyone. I called the police. And the desk sergeant answered the phone. I said, "Sir, I need to know what the laws are that constitute child abuse." He said, "Well, hitting a child so as to leave a mark, not clothing that child, not feeding that child. And there's such a thing as emotional abuse as well." I said, "Then, sir, I think I need to report what might be child abuse." And he said to me, "Oh, are you a teacher? Are you a neighbor?" I said, "No, sir. I'm the child." He said, "Oh, no. You have to be under 18. I said, "I'm 14. He said, "You're 14? I was a rather cerebral child. I said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I'm 14. And he asked me a few questions, and I described the incident of the night before and my injuries, which included a black eye and a busted lip and a swollen purple wrist, which was later determined to have a hairline fracture. And as I finished describing these things, I heard the bell ring in the distance, summoning me back to school after the lunch break. The policeman asked me for my phone number. I said, "Sir, I can't give that to you. I just heard the bell ring and I have to go back to school. I have to go now. I can't be late." He said, "Give me your phone number and don't you move." I complied with his order and I hung up the phone. You know, we all have those moments in life when we feel our back is against the wall, when we have no place to go. When Cortez landed on the shores of Mexico, one of the first orders that he gave his men was to burn the ships in the harbor. And the reason why he did that was because he understood that if his men's backs were against the wall, if they had no place to retreat, they would absolutely make the best of what they had available to them. They would take full advantage of those resources. But if they had a place to retreat to, they wouldn't make it a success. And so as I sat there in my living room that day, I realized on an intuitive level that I was burning my ship in the harbor. The policeman called me back and he told me that he wanted me to go to the Bureau of Child Welfare. They were waiting for me. I said to him, "Sir, I can't do that. I live on Roosevelt Island and I can't get off the island. I don't have any money." He said, "Go to the administrative office at school and borrow the money, get on the train, and go to the Bureau of Child Welfare. They are waiting for you." I told him that I would, and I hung up the phone. And I went downstairs to my bedroom and found a little bitty beach bag about 10 or 12 inches square and maybe 3 or 4 inches deep. And I put some underwear and a couple of pairs of pants and a couple of shirts in the bag. And I took a deep breath because I knew if I did this thing, that was going to be it. But I took those stairs one at a time.
14 years old.
That's right. I walked up the stairs and I walked out of my parents' home for the last time. I went to school and I borrowed the money. And then I got on the little cable car. You've probably seen it in the movies. A little red cable car runs along the 59th Street Bridge. And it set me down right next to Bloomingdale's. And I got on the train for the first time in my life by myself. And I made my way to the Bureau of Child Welfare. A social worker met me there, and she put me in the hospital in Bellevue. Now, I hear your wheels turning. It was the children's ward, not the psych ward.
Okay.
Just for clarity. And she called my parents, and she said, "We have your daughter here, and she's made charges against you." And my parents said, keep her. We don't want her.
Wow.
So this whole thing sort of took on a life of its own, and it literally rolled like a snowball down a hill. And 90 days later, I found myself sitting in a courtroom, basically suing my parents for divorce. And as I sat in the witness box, I gazed at my sister, who was seated behind my parents, who were at the defense table. And my sister was wearing a brand new pair of eyeglasses. Now, my sister had always had perfect vision. She didn't wear eyeglasses, to my knowledge. And in fact, when I walked in the courthouse that day, I walked up to my mother and I said, "Hi, is Kim coming? Where is she?" She was sitting right next to my mother. My sister and I shared a bedroom our entire lives. And in 3 months, I didn't recognize my own sister. I realized by looking at those glasses, more than anything else that happened that day, told me that we had indeed reached that point of no return, that all of the ships had burned in the harbor. And from that moment, I had to take care of me. And right about that time, I noticed that my attorney and the judge were talking. And they were talking back and forth and back and forth. And they were talking about me. And then I realized they were trying to decide what to do with me. And then I heard the word Pleasantville. You see, I knew all about Pleasantville from the kids in the home. It was a warehouse for children in upstate New York, and I felt in my spirit that if I went to Pleasantville, that all of my hopes and all of my dreams for my future would just dissipate like smoke. That really, really frightened me, and in that panicked state, this voice that I didn't know I had rose up in me, and this ability to advocate and negotiate that I had no idea I had in me rose up in me. And I turned to the judge and I just started talking. I said, "Please, sir, I don't want to go to Pleasantville. I want to stay in New York City. I want to go to a competitive school because I want to go to college one day." And the judge turned and looked at me, and he leaned back in his chair, and I was reminded of De Niro. "Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? I'm the judge." But I think ultimately he was amused by me. He folded his arms and looked at me gently. He said, "So you want to go to college one day, do you?" I said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do." And he turned to my attorneys. He said, "Well, what kind of grades does she get?" And my attorneys, my advocates, who were helping the judge decide my future, had absolutely no idea what kind of grades I got. And that is the reason that I am a CASA today, a court-appointed special advocate for abused and neglected children, because children's voices get lost in the system. So my attorneys went back and they checked on my grades. And he sounded surprised when he looked up. He said, "Well, she gets A's and B's, sir. A couple of C's." Now, my father was a Harvard Law School grad. You can imagine those C's were absolutely unacceptable in our household. And I thought that on the basis of those 2 C's, that the judge was going to turn me down flat and send me off packing to Pleasantville. But when he turned and looked at me, there was respect in his eyes. And he said, "I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you what you want. I'm going to let you stay in the city, but you are going to have a disposition hearing in 18 months, and I want to see those grades. You keep your grades up, you hear me?" I said, "Yes, sir. I swear I'll keep my grades up. I will. Thank you." Well, that day, the judge found my parents guilty of neglect, and he put me in a group home on the corner of 81st and West End Avenue. And I spent the rest of my childhood in foster care.
Wow.
Yes.
When you think about your life now,
Yes.
because usually kids in foster care, when they are emancipated, usually what percentage end up incarcerated or on drugs?
68% of emancipated youth go to jail within 1 year of emancipation.
What prevented you? What was it about you that stopped that from being your fate?
You know, it was a combination of things. First of all, my parents, despite their failings, were very, very bright people. And they were very success-oriented people. And so by the time I was 14 years old, I had all that programming in me to be a successful adult. And indeed, it was that programming that made it so unacceptable to be beaten. That woman I was becoming, that woman that they were raising me to be, simply could not take another beating. I sat in school that day and I realized two things. One, if my mother had to put makeup on me so I could go to school that day, then they knew it was wrong. And two, either my father or I was not going to physically survive my childhood. One of us wasn't going to make it, and it was a 50-50 shot on who it was going to be, and everybody's life was going to be destroyed.
You know, I'm talking about Live Your Dreams Now. Those of you that are just tuning in, we're talking with attorney Sean Arnold, and she's a business strategist and a coach, and she helps businesses as well as individuals who want to become involved in business and entrepreneurs to begin to soar to new heights. And I talk about living your dream now. And you, when you were in foster care, you saw an Alvin Haley dance group. And, and you were mesmerized.
Oh, my, yes.
And tell us about that.
It was not long after I went into placement. So those of you who have a philanthropic bone in you, I want you to listen closely to this, because I want you to know the difference that you can make in a life that you've never even met. Not too long after I was in placement, the leaders of the house took us to the Met to see the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater perform. And I had never been to a dance performance before. I went into the theater and we sat down 10, maybe 12 rows back, dead center. Mm-hmm. And the lights went down. And then the lights came up on the most extraordinary scene I've ever seen in my life. The lighting and the movement and the freedom in the dance was so extraordinary. It went right through me and all around me and completely enveloped me. I burst into tears. I sat there in that darkened theater sobbing.
Why?
Absolutely sobbing. It was so beautiful. It was so ethereal. It touched every cell in my body. And I believe that it was the following week that I took my first dance class. Mm-hmm. And I spent the next 15 years dancing as though my life depended on it. And I guess in some small way it really did.
That you saw your destiny.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a place to put all that grief. I had a place to put all that sadness and the rage and the anger and all of those emotions. I had a place to put it all. So those of you who have a philanthropic throb in your heart, please know that when you give those tickets, it's more than just a ticket. You are touching a life. You are giving someone exposure to something that will take them to a place they alone could never have dreamed of.
I want you to tell people how they can get in touch with you and what they can expect in terms of the services that you provide.
Well, I am a business strategist, business coach. I am a practicing business attorney. You can reach me on Facebook, Shaune.Arnold, SHAUNE.Arnold. You can hit me up on Twitter and LinkedIn, same exact moniker, Shaune.Arnold. You can send me a email to Shaune@businessbootcamp online.com. And if you need to speak to me in person, please call me 213-718-3468.
Repeat that again, please.
213-718-3468.
Sean Arnold, a powerful attorney, a wonderful friend, and an incredible speaker as well. And what are the topics that you speak on?
Well, I speak on a number of business topics, the art of negotiation. I speak about contracts and any number of business topics. I also talk to foster kids and at-risk youths to give them the sight of someone who looks like they do and has an Esquire behind her name, who sounds like they do, who's been where they are and has an Esquire behind her name. I did it. You can too.
All right. I want to thank you. Well, listen,
you.
I appreciate you for who you are and manifesting your greatness. We're going to be back. We're going to be talking with Hassan Thompson. We're going to be talking about the opportunities we have to help redirect the lives of our young people. We're going to take a break and listen more to It's Possible.